Welcome to Richard's Hill Modelling. This is part 5 of the AMT Star Trek Next Generation USS Enterprise NCC 1701C. In part 4, I started mapping out where I'm going to be putting the lights, as you can see on this little intro clip here. In part 5, I'm going to be placing the lights into the social section and wiring them up. So let's jump in. So to begin with, have a look and see where your contact points are going to be made. Then use some soldering flux. This is what I've got here. It's just a bit on a cocktail stick, and I'm smearing this over where I'm going to be putting the solder. So all the little metal contact points. Now on the strips where I've got 2 sets or 6 LED lights in total, I'm going to be also soldering the middle part. Now the reason for that is, you don't really have to do it, but the reason for that is sometimes when you're placing the lights in, you may want to add extra lights and you'll need a couple of contact points to add them, and these middle parts are ideal for that, so that you're not going to be taking off the wires that you've already connected, and you've got these 2 points ready to go if you need them. So to solder, it's quite easy. I've got my soldering iron here. Now temperature set to around about 300, and I just use that with a little bit of solder. I'm just increasing the temperature slightly now to about 350. Now it takes a couple of seconds for it to heat up. So there we go, it's all ready to go. So I'm just putting a little bit of solder on the metal contact point, and then for the second one, and of course I'll do that for all 6 contact points. There is a little chip at the end of these. Just be careful that you don't touch it with your soldering iron or with solder, because that can create a short while you're trying to light it up. Now I'm not the best solderer in the world, I'm quite messy in fact, so if I can do it, anyone can do it. All you need is a tiny little ball on it. So we're coming to the last 2 now, so you can see them forming there. So you're looking for a little dome shape, and you want to put enough on so that when you reheat it back up, when it's time to connect it to a wire, the wire can just gently push into it to make the bond. And now I'll put the solder on. I'm just going to check to see whether everything's alright, so I'm just putting a bit of power into it to make sure the lights come on. I check every time I do something new to the light. So if I put a little bit of wire on, I check. If I move the piece, I check it. Because sometimes they can be fragile, so you want to make sure they're all working. It's now time to put that strip onto the actual model. Now I've got some isolating tape here, or electrical tape, and I'm just placing it on where the solder parts will be. Now the reason why I'm putting that on is because I'll be soldering directly onto the model. If you do this, be very, very careful, because you don't want any runoff going onto the model and burning the plastic. Hence why I put the electrical tape on. It's just a little bit of protection, that's all. Also, of course, probably goes without saying, make sure you don't cover up your holes with your tape. You don't want to go through all that work of drilling holes, then covering them up with tape, because the light won't penetrate it. So that's all 6 points done. So I'm just checking to make sure it's all in line. Now these strips come with a little bit of tacky back into it, so you just peel off the paper and then you can lay it down onto the position that you want to go on. So I'm laying it down where I drew my little pattern and just place it on, then pressing down once it's on, just so it holds into place. So once it's on, again, because I've moved it, and I'm just checking to make sure all the power's working, and I'm checking all the points to make sure each connection will work. So the middle one was done, now one of the ends, and that's all okay there. Sometimes the flux can run over onto the bag paper, and that can make it difficult for the tacky side to stick down, but that's not a problem. Just a little bit of super glue on the back end, and press it down, then it will hold. I'm just using my knife there so I don't glue my fingers to the model. You can use other glue. Hot glue works as well. That works fine. I find that can be a little bit messy though, so I prefer just a little bit of super glue. So a tiny little spot, and again it's on, so I'm testing. So as you can see, all the lights are in and it's time to wire them. So I've got some wire here. Depending on what you want wiring is, depending on the thickness of your wire. This is around about 1mm. So first of all, I'm going to have to cut off a length of wire. Now, the first part in cutting off, I want to make sure I've got a nice layoff from the connection point. So make sure you've got enough tail to do this, because this part is going to be connected into the hull. So it goes down into this little hole, and the connection will be onto the first strips that I put in. So to prepare this wire, you have to do a process called tinning. And first of all, we have to expose the wire. You can do this with a wire stripper, or I just use my knife. Be careful though, because you can slice your finger open if you're not careful, the way I do it. I don't recommend doing it this way. I just do it this way because I'm stupid. You know, but that's me, it's my choice, it's my fingers. Do not do it this way. So I've taken off the wire and the sheath for the wire and exposed the wire. Now I just twisted them around slightly to keep them all together. And I'm using my modelling arm now just to clamp the ends of the wire so that I can get into them. This helps just to make a little bit to make it stable, because what I'm going to be doing now is soldering a bit of solder onto the wire, and that process is called tinning. This just allows the wire to adhere better to your actual solder. So I'm just putting it on just a little bit and running it down the surface of the wire until it's all coated. And then it's time to connect the wire to the lights. Now remember, negative and positive. So look at a little diagram that you've done, or look at the lights and look for the minus sign, and I put the black wire onto the minus sign. Unfortunately my wire's getting in the way here, so I do apologise for that. It's just a setup I've got, it's just the way it is. So actually I'm connecting the positive first on here. You can't really see it, but I'm just heating up the little bit of dome solder that's on the lights, and once that's heated up I'm just pushing in the wire, and then that will be connected. I should point out as well, the solder only takes seconds to cool down, so don't worry, you think, oh, I'm going to have to be ages here waiting for all this hot metal to cool down. It takes literally seconds to cool down. You can tell by the colour of the metal as well. It will change colour as it cools down. So that's the first two in, so it's time to do a power check to make sure it's going to light up. As I said, do it every time you do something different. That way, if anything goes wrong, you can backtrack it quite easily to where the circuit's gone wrong. As you can see there, that's it lit up. Now that's connected, I just simply take the two tail ends of the wire and push them through where the neck of the hull goes. And from now on, I'll be using those two wires to connect to power each time I go along to make sure everything is working. I'm just holding it down with a bit of tape as well. You can, again, as I said before, you can use hot glue if you wish. Now the first wire's in, it's a case of now having to connect all the wires up. So I've got another piece of length of wire to bridge the gap, and again I'm soldering it. So on negative side here, I'm just heating up the little dome of solder and pushing in the wire. If you need to add a little bit of solder like I'm doing here, that's perfectly okay. Just be careful you don't get too much runoff and it will impede on the plastic, hence the tape. Now the one side's in, it's time to connect them to the other set of lights. So remember, negative to negative. So I'm just heating up the dome of solder here and pushing in the wire. Now if the wire is too small for you to go in and you're worried about burning your fingers, use a pair of tweezers just to guide it in. You know, don't try and be a hero and use your hands if you don't have to. You know, you really don't want to give yourself a nasty burn. So the negative is now, it's time to go into the positive. So it's the same again. Soldering the dome, I'm going to add a little bit more solder here. Just to get it going really. And then just place it in. Sometimes I put not enough solder on the connection point, so I may have to add a little bit on, but as I said, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you don't have any runoff. I know I've said it before, but it's important. And make sure you get a good join as well. So one end in, and then over to the next end. Now that iron's perfectly close to my fingers. I didn't actually burn them, but this is where if you're worried, a pair of tweezers would be a welcome addition. So again, I'm just adding a little bit more solder. I mean, initially I didn't want to put too much on the actual contact point because I was worried about it running over onto the chip as well. So I mean, it just adds a little bit extra time, but it's better to be careful than have to redo it all. And now it's on. It's time to do the power test. You may get fed up doing the power test all the time, but it's quite important. So power goes in. Oh, it's not connected. I actually thought, oh my god, it's not working, but I didn't actually connect it. So there you go, those are the two lights done. That's the inner ring all done. I did have one little issue. One of the strips I put the wrong way around. I'm just pointing that out here. So all that meant was instead of following the pattern of black over to black, there was a slight crossover for the black wire going to the opposite side of the next wire point, I should say. So it's sort of crossed a little bit. It's not a problem, it doesn't make any difference to the lighting because negative is still onto negative and positive is still onto positive. It's just a little bit more messier because the wires are crossed, that's all. Now I'm coming to the last connection for the wire. So again, same as all the other ones, just connecting the 2 points up. And then that should give me a complete circuit for the top section of the saucer. The end part will be getting connected to the lower section of the saucer section, but I'm going to be bringing this video to a close now. In the next part, I shall be putting in the lights on the lower section of the saucer and connecting it all up, and if I have time we'll get it all bonded together. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the other videos in this build, or indeed check out the channel as well. There may be something there of interest for you. Leave a comment, hit that like button, and also subscribe to the channel for any updates. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.